In 1992, a video game studio called HAL Laboratories introduced us to a little white puffball with indescribable features. If your first thought is, what the hell is that thing? You're not alone. Kirby, believe it or not, was never intended to be seen. The character as we know him today was originally a placeholder sprite, simply put into the game so the designers could playtest it and check animation keys while they worked on the rest of the game. But eventually, after playing with him for so long and looking at him every day, the developers came to fall in love with the little guy and couldn't see the game without him. The name Kirby was actually a pun on his ability to suck up enemies, named after the brand of Kirby vacuums. Yes, I'm dead serious, which means in another alternate reality, Kirby's name is Hoover, or possibly Dirt Devil. The story of Kirby's Dreamland, if you can even call it that, is that the evil King Dedede has stolen all the food as well as the 5 sparkling stars, and it's up to Kirby to get them back from Dedede's henchmen. It's as cliched and simple as video game premises get. Evil king, single hero, if only there were a princess to rescue, we'd have the trifecta. Gameplay is purely linear, with each level leading into the next one in the same way, and only minor hidden areas with power-ups and treasures to find. I don't know why, but this was one of the first games I ever saw the commercial for and said, "Mom, I want that game!"
Kirby's Dreamland, the thrilling new adventure game on Game Boy. Kirby munches, spits back, and floats, saving glorious Dreamland.
Looking back, I still don't know what it was that appealed to me so much. I guess I just thought the idea of sucking in enemies and spitting them out was absolutely brilliant. You were literally using your enemies as weapons. Who doesn't want to see that? But looking at it with the nostalgia goggles off, honestly, I think this game is severely overrated. Now, don't get me wrong, I love it. I think it's really fun, but there's a lot of aspects of it that just feel unbalanced, and some design choices that just seem weird. It feels like the developers were making it up as they went along. Okay, we're gonna have a tree here and open areas on the sides, and there's gonna be star blocks you can destroy at the top to go outside the tree. There's nothing there, but you can do it. Yeah, right here we're gonna have a room that loops around itself, just to see if we can. Yeah, after this part, you find a warp star, and that launches you into the background, where Kirby gets sucked into a whale's blowhole, who launches them up into the clouds! Sure, we could have the warp star just take you directly into the clouds, but what's the fun in that? I suppose it's just a style of game design that's completely alien to me. It's not like there's any kind of narrative in this game or one level progresses logically into the next, so why would they bother putting in a cutscene like this to explain exactly how Kirby made it into the clouds? Oftentimes, the levels seem like they're thrown together at complete random, and no one area seems to last longer than a few screens. It's perfect for little kids with ADD because you're always given something new to experience, and you're never in one place long enough for it to get boring. One minute you're in some islands, the next you're in a cave, the next you're underwater, and suddenly you're in a castle. The game marked the first appearance of several bosses and enemies we've recognized from later Kirby games, like Wispy Woods, Krakow, and Kabula. Wait, who? Oh yeah, King Dedede's airship that didn't appear again as a boss for another 16 years. Who could have forgotten about her? Not to mention all the enemies you encounter that went on to become series staples. Kabu, Scarfy, Waddle-Doo, Sir Kibble, Broom Hatter. The designers seemed like they were trying to throw as many different things as possible into the game just to see what did or didn't work. A theme that'll seem to continue for the next several games. But I think that's part of what made this game so successful. It's all the variety and the graphics, all the attention to detail. The developers really cared about creating a huge array of enemies to flesh out this world, as well as a big collection of iconic power-ups like the Mike and Spicy Curry. The care they took came through in the end, and the game feels well made, but it's just so insultingly short. Let's be honest, this game is not hard. It was made for little kids, or at the very least, people who don't have much gaming experience. But instead of being designed with the specter of the arcade demanding blood, Kirby was supposed to be played, beaten, and enjoyed. The game moves with such a fevered pace, you find yourself blazing through it, and then before you know it, it's done. It's one thing to try to avoid making a game repetitive, but it's another thing entirely to have a wasted opportunity. You have all of these assets, all of these blocks and power-ups from different enemies, and you end up using them maybe once or twice in the entire game. Of course, the replay value does exist. There's some hidden areas to find, and the developers were nice enough to include a much harder extra mode, as well as the option to change how much health you start with. I always like setting it to 1, which I would almost say actually makes the game Nintendo hard. But the most surprising thing about this game is that the most iconic feature of the Kirby franchise, the ability to absorb powers from your enemies, had never even been considered at this point. Swallowing your enemies simply destroy them. It still blows my mind that Kirby's most defining characteristic didn't even exist here. but there was already enough to make the game a massive success. Kirby's Dream Land managed to succeed purely through its cheerful setting, friendly and accessible gameplay, and lighthearted presentation. It was short, and as a direct result, it left people desperately wanting more, and now that our little hero was accepted as part of the gaming world, it was time to expand.